Hey everyone, I'm Brenton and I'm joined with Steve, and welcome to Brenton's Question of the Week, questions that collectors think about but don't always ask. So, last week's question: as collectors, are we focused a little too much on anatomy, especially critical of female anatomy? And here are some of the responses from the community. So, Buck Fang said 3 out of 10 needs more back muscles. Good episode. Ed, and Eddie said, I like Nathan's comment on negative criticism from last week. This week's topic, I completely disagree with you. Being constructive on a female's anatomy is no different than being constructive on a male anatomy's pecs or biceps. I think if all you're saying is the statue needs bigger boobs, then obviously that can get out of line. But to say a female's chest can be sculpted in a more distinctive way is fair criticism to me. Thank you all for the great responses. So this week, I've been thinking about how do you manage stress in collecting? So Steve, can you tell us a little bit about how you manage stress in collecting? Or some suggestions that you have?
Yeah, there's a bunch to it, you know? There's like dealing with the boxes, dealing with everything coming out, dealing with the hype, dealing with so many things. For me, it's just like take it a day at a time, you know? In the very beginning, I was just like, I want it all. I want it all, you know? Like it's like you're around your friends, you know? You want everything your friends have, so or at least a little bit of it. But dealing with it, what I've learned is just it's like what Thor says, just be patient, be very patient, and patience is hard to learn, but it's possible.
Yeah, and one thing I think about is we come back to this a lot. I feel like in collecting, this is something that every person says, every channel says, where they're like, focus, focus, focus. Like you need to kind of have a plan in your head and where you're going. And I think part of that is that there's just so much out there that looks great, and you just have an instinct to want it all, but you need to narrow it down into a more realistic, I guess, grouping, according to like how much you can afford, how much space you have. You have to take into account all those different aspects.
So I keep saying this, but I don't think it's fair to say anymore. You're not new to the collecting, you know, to the statue game at least. How do you deal with it with collecting figures, toys, and now statues? Like, isn't that like a whole cumbersome thing to take on?
It is, and I think part of that is you have to start giving things up. So there has to be give and take in other areas to manage it, because otherwise you'd never be able to afford anything. You imagine having like 5 statues on PO. Um, you have like 10 scale figures on PO. You have a bunch of 6-inch figures on PO, and then you're still buying other things too, like comics or whatever. I mean, at that point, I guess you better be really rich.
One quick thing I really want to point out is how you said that. It's like you kind of have to give up. You know, giving up isn't always a bad thing. Like some people just think giving up is like you're letting your friends down. I've seen it a ton of times. People have 50 things on PO and they're just like, now I can't back out because I said I have 50 things on PO. It's like, yes, you can. you
Yeah,
know, just let it go. Like
exactly.
it's
You
yeah.
know, it's kind of like, I guess, collecting's like being in a relationship. You ever hear the term choose your battles? Like, I
Oh yeah.
feel like you need to pick and choose what you spend your money on when you collect.
Oh yeah, by far. Yeah, it's funny because like I got into it probably 2 years ago now, and it just blew up. You know, it's
Hmm.
just I got into the Batman line. Then I was like, I'm not into this so much, but I don't want to back out because I'm already so heavily invested in it. But now I'm just like, I need to give up. You know, just I that what you said right there, giving up is like the best the best way to put it. It's not like I feel like it has a bad conjugation to it. You know, giving up. It's just
Yeah, I think people, you know, we're probably conditioned to a degree of being like, don't quit. Quitting's
Yeah.
bad. Don't want to be like a quitter or something. And it's like, it's not bad to give up some of this stuff. Like it is just for fun. It's a hobby. Like it doesn't need to have that much weight in your life. I think that if a lot of things are causing you stress like that, it's probably just not even worth it all the time. Like you find things that are less stressful.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I don't know how much time we have, but like I went to New York Comic Con last week. I had a blast. I had like an amazing time, and I didn't think about. I was I was looking for statues, but I wasn't like thinking about statues. I wasn't like, I got what do I have in PO, like worrying about what's coming out next. I was just enjoying my time at the con. So it was definitely a great stress reliever. Like it was good.
Well, I think being part of the community, that's when things morph a little bit, where it's more about building the relationships. That's where you kind of what keeps you going.
Hmm.
It's not even the buying to a degree. It's just those friendships and those relationships with people that you build over time.
Yeah, yeah. And as you know, like I'm sure your the community has grown on you like a ton, right? Like you got to meet
Oh yeah.
now you got to meet some of the Bowen people. The Bowen people are a little bit different. They're more, OG collectors, but they're I don't know if you've met Han yet or if you've talked to Han yet.
No, I haven't.
No, yeah, he's a good guy, but he'll teach you a ton of things. But yeah, man, it's stress is always going to be there, but you have to figure out your own way to control it because everyone's different, you know.
Yeah, so I think that our two big takeaways are, be patient with stuff. You don't need everything day one or as soon as you jump into collecting. Because I know for speaking from your collection there, you waited for stuff and you found great deals on it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That transformation, that Hulk transformation, Hush Superman,
Hmm.
DK3 Batman. Like you've been getting these killer deals lately.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely what we were talking about is patience, like you said too. Like it's like it'll come around eventually, and if it doesn't, something better is always going to come around. So it's just
Yeah,
patience
that
is
too. And I guess the second part that we figured out today was, it's okay to give stuff up. Don't feel that you're locked into everything. You know,
mm,
you, you have to make some hard decisions sometimes, and it's okay.
yeah, 100%.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me, Steve, and thank you everyone for watching. Please feel free to answer in the comments and come back next week to hear what other collectors had to say and for another hard hitting question.